Hello everyone, and welcome to this video which is in our Engine Snack series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and we're taking a look at a great Benoni between Leela 0 and Komodo Dragon. TCEC Season 22 sub-final bonus, Game 89. So this opening line came about from a suggestion that I'd seen in a book, which was this unusual move 98 in the classical Benoni. The engines didn't like it at all, so it had that nice mix for a Sufi, a line that human players considered to be interesting, but one which engines considered to be bad. In this position, White's got quite a nice setup. A knight's on c4, attacking the pawn on d6. You've got this pawn on f4, blocking the pawn on f5, which restricts the bishop on c8, and we're also stopping the knight getting to e5. And well, I mean, how is White going to build up? All sorts of things. Could look for some play on the queen side, could just look for g4 eventually, some pressure along the e file. Quite a few possibilities for White. Here in this position, Dragon decided to go all in, which was a very, very interesting decision and seems to be pretty good actually. So bishop d4 check was played, and now king h2. Interestingly enough, after bishop e3, looks like Dragon was intending to take on c3 and to go knight df6, attacking this pawn on d5. Actually, it's kind of doomed. This knight on c4 stops White from playing c3 to c4, and well, Black can attack the pawn with lots of different stuff. I mean, it's sort of yeah. I mean, I'd always feel that White's got some sort of compensation here. For example, after knight a3, knight takes d5, bishop d2, rook g8, c4. This was a game Stockfish against Dragon 3 on my 94 thread machine. Yeah, I mean, White's got the a1 h8 diagonal, but Black's got the a8 h1 diagonal and a square on e4 for the knight eventually. So it's pretty sharp, but Black seemed to be doing pretty fine in my games. King h2 is pretty natural, but yeah, Dragon had a very interesting idea here. Knight df6, and now this move knight e2, and the point is that this bishop on d4 is trapped in actual fact. It can't move anywhere, and of course if we get knight takes d4 in, well, you know, it's quite similar to what we've looked at already, but actually with a better version, because we haven't got a pawn on c3, we've got a pawn on b2, so getting to the a1 h8 diagonal with a dark squared bishop will be very easy. So here Komodo had just a very big tactical idea. Knight g4 check, king g3 forced for White, really. King h1, knight f2 is actually just fine for Black, well, very good in actual fact. And obviously h takes g4, queen h4 checkmate is suboptimal. So king g3 played, and now rook g8 takes, rook takes, king f3, bishop b7. Crazy position, crazy position. And Black has got to be well, pretty happy with what's happening here when you think of playing a Benoni as Black, and White's got to be very careful. So I mean, there's a few nice mates pointed out. One was pointed out by one of my Twitter followers. Bishop f5, queen h4, bishop takes g4, and now the beautiful bishop takes d5 checkmate. What a beautiful checkmate, that one. So knight e3 was played by Leela here. So yeah, blocking this and attacking the rook. That's the basic idea. Queen h4, and now knight takes d4. I mean, whilst Black's coming forward and attacking, White's just trying to yeah, get rid of the Black attacking pieces. For example, if you tried rook h1 in this position, I've got another gorgeous mate. Bishop takes d5 check, knight takes d5, queen f2 check. That's why the rook needs to stay on f1 to cover this f2 square. So after queen h4, knight takes d4, rook g3 check was played. This is where it starts getting difficult for a human, because the tactics just keep on coming, and obviously when you're calculating from afar, you know, you do start wondering, you know, am I missing something easy and stupid? King e2 is not so stupid actually. C takes d4 is possible. Rook h1, queen f4, queen f1, very important move just to swap off the queens there. And yeah, and here, well, both Dragon and Stockfish seem to feel that that this was going to be fine for black. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. White's got 3, and this one's going. So we're going to have 4 pawns for the piece. And a bit of activity. These pieces are a bit, yeah, passive for white. Yeah, not an easy one to evaluate from afar. And but after Rook G3, Leela played the incredibly brave King F2. I mean, there's a discovered attack here, but it doesn't actually seem to be that good. I mean, we're just threatening something like Knight takes F5, forking Queen and Rook. And this is where the really amazing tactical point comes in. Is this move Bishop takes D5? It looks absolutely impossible, but you know the idea is now that we've got a threat of Rook takes G2 check, checkmate in actual fact, with a double checkmate even. And if we go something like Knight D5, then Rook D3 check is going to pick up the Queen, and then we'll pick up the Knight on D4. Doesn't look easy for White, but White does have a defense, which is Knight F3. The clever idea being that if Rook takes F3 double check, we just go King E2 and step out, and after Rook G3, King D2, well, we're escaping over to here, over to the Queen side a little bit. We're also threatening Knight takes D5. I thought this might be quite dangerous, and it does look it, but I guess the problem is that White's just going to play B3 and Bishop B2. Certainly in my engine games, you know, White was really having a very pleasant time in this position. So after Knight F3, we got Bishop takes F3, Queen F3 forced. If you don't do, if you move the Queen away or something like that, for example here, we just go Rook G2, double check, and checkmate. So Queen takes F3, takes, and yeah, this is a bit of a toughie to evaluate. Yeah, again, you know, natural inclination would be to kind of believe the pieces a little bit, especially with the Black King weak here, and you know, Bishop coming to C3, 2 pieces, 2 bishops, and a Rook for the Queen. Feels like a lot, but actually in all my engine games, this it just turned out, and you know, it's kind of important that this works. I think that's kind of the problem with this line, is that you really have to see very deeply that White can't really keep both bishops here, and White felt compelled to give up the bishop pair. And actually, well, there's some interesting tactics here, because we take on F5, we're threatening Rook H7 check, and amazingly Black's got time just to play quietly, let White take the knight back, and then go Rook E7. So we're threatening Rook takes E3 check here, followed by Queen F5. So Bishop D3 was played, and now Queen takes C3, Rook D1. And well, this still looks fairly promising for White. I mean, we've got moves like Knight F5 coming in, you know, G4, and well, this Black King is a little bit awkward. Only there's a, yeah, again, the end tactical point basically is that we go Rook E3, King E3, and C4. And well, we're going to get the piece back. We're going to have Queen for 2 rooks, and this King's going to be open enough for Black to have plenty of perpetual chances. Again, you know, it's not 100% clear to me this, and again, I'm sort of thinking I would really want to know this before going into this. But you know, we're starting to get into something like a 17-18 move combination. So Rook C7 is a nice move. It pins the pawn, stops C takes D3 because of Rook takes. But we can go D5, and well, it's very hard for White to actually just to get out of this and still be safe. And well, you know, we're also threatening stuff like Queen B3, for example. I'm pinning, and then we can take this one. So G3, E6 played, just calmly aiming to go B5 to B4, and just making sure you can't take the pawn. Rook D7 takes, Rook takes D5, D2, King F2. And I have to say again here that I wouldn't easily guess from afar, not even perhaps from near, that this sort of position would just be quite an easy draw for Black. Yeah, I mean, this pawn is quite annoying, and the Queen is active. But yeah, you know, the Black King is on G8, feels a little bit passive there. You might think that White could do something there. But actually, White didn't get anywhere. Leela didn't get anywhere here, and you know, sort of 20 moves later, we're in this position, and you know, checks are still happening here. And well, the game lasted till move 111. We got to this, But yeah, in the end, the game was just drawn. Black just giving lots and lots of checks to the king. So there we are. I mean, a really spectacular game, really fantastic, and well, just the sort of game that I was looking for from a slightly dodgy Benoni. But I do have to say that, you know, this tactic here with Bishop D4, what Dragon started up at move 16, was incredibly deep, and you know, really, the tactical points only really become resolved around move 37, when it's clear that Black's going to get this 2 queens against 2 rooks position. But, you know, then on top of that, you know, even there, the judgment that that these sort of positions are actually fine for Black, you know, is very difficult. You know, to me, not at all obvious. And well, no, kind of, you know, Dragon kind of had to evaluate this sort of thing properly in order to go in for this line. So amazing demonstration there of deep calculation, good survival by Leela, but a great game from Dragon there as Black.